Because I didn't unmute. Yeah, wow. Okay, it's not a mic problem. Look, my font is also screwed up here. How do these things happen? Wow, everything is just messed up. Oh. What? Lame. All right.
Welcome to the technical issues stream. If you can hear me.
Yeah, they can hear you. I assume they can hear you. Here, wait. Just. There we go. Okay. Ugh. We're having problems with the microphone. And the day that I show up at the last minute, I'm like, I'm just gonna have a quick sandwich. I'm gonna run downstairs. I was helping my wife pack for this trip she's going on. And I'm gonna grab a quick sandwich. Oh, it's quarter till. Oh, I just eat this sandwich real quick, and then I'll run downstairs and start the stream. It'll be fine. I can start the stream in 7 minutes. Then we have problems with the microphone. We have all kinds of fucking problems. So whatever. Now it's time. And I was thinking to myself, what I should do, you kind of can't see, I should take this microphone, which is my good microphone that isn't currently being used, and I should take that microphone and I should run it into my camera with a splitter of some kind so that my camera is doing a backup recording of my good microphone. But today that would have been a mistake of some kind. I don't know, maybe it wouldn't have been, because something's up with that microphone. It's not working right. So now being able to shift to this one as a backup, I guess, is a good idea. But anyway, this is what
Also,
you got.
Also, just to be clear, that means, yes, we do understand that he sounds like we're in the 90s yelling into a microphone in a...
Yeah.
On a home camcorder, but that's what we get today.
That's what you get today. I could take this Sennheiser mic and I could wire it into the camera. Shut up. Hold on. I have a battery in this microphone. Hold on. If I could wire the Sennheiser into the... Okay, we're not going to... Should we? Should we do it? If I just take the Sennheiser and unplug this... Okay. And then we take this cable... Okay, hang on. Oh, wait a second. Oh, I don't know why I didn't think to do this already. And then we unplug this mic. Hold on. Let me mute myself so there's not a pop. Unmute. Is that good? Oh, the gain is wrong. The gain is all wrong. It does sound better. Is that better? It's better. Yeah, the gain is too high. Okay, hold on. We can do this. No, it's this button. This button here. Where is audio rec level. Turn it down to... How about that? How about that? Is that good? Is that pretty good? I think that's pretty good. Oh, hell yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay, now let's just pretend that all happened a half hour ago. Because if I was a real professional, I would have been prepared. Does that sound better, Blunty?
Yes, better. Overall quieter gain for me, but I don't know if that's fine for the stream.
The stream is getting boosted. I can turn it up a little. How about that? There we go. Need a little more gain. Okay, that's 10. There we go. This is pretty good. This is exactly how it's set over on the bench. I think it's pretty good. Okay. Woosah. Welcome to the live stream. I'm glad I thought to do that. Yeah, I feel clever. So, again, it'd be cleverer if I had done it a half hour ago. Well, anyway, we got a little stream going on. We're going to answer questions. Let's get to it. Oh. if I were to do that, why don't I set it up this way all the time? Why do I have a USB preamp? Why don't I just run my mic through the camera and then use the HDMI input as the audio capture device and skip the preamp? I'm sure there's a reason. Anyway, we'll think about that another time. Oh, God damn it. No.
How many things can go wrong today? That's the question for you. I expected him to grab the one behind him from the bench. So we'll find out.
Are we good? There we go.
Hey.
Yeah, that AA battery that had been there, that has been in that microphone pretty much for months since I got that microphone, apparently dead.
I expected you to swap the microphone off the back bench like you did initially testing.
Yeah, that battery's dead too. So I have phantom power. I run them off of phantom power, and I just put the battery in there. My thinking was like, why not put a battery in there just in case, right? What? Is it still working? Is it still? It is still working.
I can hear you. Yeah.
Why is the light not on? The light's not on. I don't know. Okay. Anyway, it's fine. Yeah, so my thinking was, well, I'll put a battery in there. You never know when you'll need it. But then apparently the battery just dies, so they may as well just not put the battery in there. Oh, it's out of sync. The lips are out of sync. That is easy to fix. Advanced audio properties. 0 milliseconds delay on the mic. 0 milliseconds delay. That can fix that. Done. Now it should be synced up. Okay. Great. Now can we try to actually answer some questions? Let's do it. Hi, everybody. Hi, Jason Murphy. What 8S LiPo did you use in the Wi-Fi link video? I didn't use an 8S LiPo. I don't know what you're talking about. Are you talking about this thing? That's a 6S. It's not an 8S. It is a custom battery. It is the Sigma Rizzler. Sorry about my dirty fingernails. I know you're going to complain about that. I've been working in the yard this morning. Sigma Rizzler. It is a Amprius SA08 cell. Yeah. How about that Wi-Fi link, huh? How about that Wi-Fi link? It's got a lot of potential. That system has a lot of potential. That system has not manifested its full potential, and it's definitely not ready for prime time. It is for experimentation. I will say that after extensive communication with the folks on the Telegram channel, because I really didn't want to get in a situation where I tested the equipment and I said, oh, it sucks, you know, whatever, it's not good, it's not good enough yet. And then the devs who put so much work into the project felt like I wasn't giving it a fair shake, which is something I've done in the past. And, you know, like sometimes I think, well, I'm going to test this as it is, and I'm going to, you know, I'm not going to try and go out of my way to cherry pick and show it at its best. I'm going to show it how it is, right? And then sometimes the devs of an open source project, who granted put a lot of work in, and they want to see their project shown, you know, doing as good as it can. They're annoyed at me for that. And sometimes I just am like, well, that's not what I'm doing today. I'm not going to do you any favors. I'm just going to show it how it is. That's what I feel like is the right thing to do. And sometimes, and I kind of did that with the very first RunCam video, the first Wi-Fi link and the Emacs Wyvern. I was like, well, let's just see how it is. I didn't go out of my way because I feel like the devs post a lot of very, very good performing videos. And I always am like, well, why doesn't it ever perform like that for me? If I was a customer who bought this and expected to get the kind of performance that I see on guys like Mario's channel, and then I got, you know, what would I get? And it wasn't as good as what people see on Mario's channels. But then the second time I was like, all right. Like, why is this not doing better? And I went to the Telegram channel, and I got some help from many people. Thank you to everybody who helped me out, if you're watching, including the dev of Ruby FPV, who is apparently Ruby FPV is just a one-man project. And I really tried to show the OpenIPC Ruby Wi-Fi link system at the best I could get out of it without, you know, doing extreme things. And it just still, you know, isn't that good. It's certainly not satisfying to use on a daily basis. But I will say this. I don't want to, it is the belief of some people whose opinion on such matters carries weight that the bad performance of the RunCam Wi-Fi link is at least in part due to something about the RunCam hardware. Because somebody looked at my video and saw the little graphs in the upper right hand corner of the video, which had a whole bunch of noise on the channel, and it was like that on every channel that I tried. And he was like, if every single channel that you try has that much noise on it, that's probably a problem with the hardware, not a problem with your environment. And I was like, well, what should I do? And he was like, well, you got to build the DIY hardware. It's better. And I'm like, oh my God, that's exactly what I'm trying not to do. So the developer of Ruby FPV, his name is Petrus, I think. I apologize. I've emailed him back and forth, but I'm blank. I'm not going to get his name exactly right. Or maybe I did. The developer of Ruby FPV offered to send me one of his handmade DIY receivers so that I could maybe finally experience, how good it could be. So, that's going to be great. I'm looking forward to that and trying it out. Yeah, so that's a little bit of a note about my Wi-Fi link. Okay, here's a question from Zetafor, who says, I'm new to FPV and there's something I'm wondering about as someone who's been active in the VR space since 2015. Why isn't there any push or interest for binocular drones so you can have depth perception? That has existed in the past. That existed in the past. So this is a case where kids these days don't know what came before them. Don't say that with any rancor, but yeah, here is an article from June 2016 about the Blackbird 2 camera, 3D camera. So there's a lot of challenges with the 3D systems that meant that people didn't really use them. So one of the challenges is that in order to get good 3D performance, oh, hang on a second. There we go. In order to get good 3D performance, you need separation of the cameras. And on a small drone, it can be difficult to get enough separation to have good 3D performance. Right? That's obviously solvable because if you think about how far apart human eyes are, that's good enough for what we do. But that's one of the challenges. The other challenge is that transmitting the 3D image to the goggles, there were various ways of doing it. One way is what you see here, which puts the left image on the left side and the right image on the right side. And then the goggles have to split them down the middle and send one to the left eye and one to the right eye. The goggles, old Fat Shark goggles, supported this. There was another method that did interlaced frames. So one frame was the left eye, one frame was the right eye. Each eye gets 15 or gets 30 frames per second, but they're not interlaced back together like they normally would be. But again, the goggles have to know to do that. The goggles have to know to send one frame to the left and one frame to the right. The other way of doing it is what SkyZone did, where SkyZone had 2 video transmitters. So SkyZone had a dual video transmitter. Let's see if I can find it. Yeah, here's the old SkyZone system. This is the old SkyZone system. It had a dual band video transmitter, transmitted on 2 channels. The advantage of this was that you got 2 full NTSC or PAL, whatever it was, 2 full feeds. But the disadvantage was it used twice as much spectrum, so it used 2 FPV channels instead of 1. One of these would receive on one channel, one would receive on the other. This is not diversity. It's one on one channel, one on the other, and you get the 3D feed back to the goggles. The long and short of it is this never took off. It never got super popular. The complexity of setting up the dual cameras, of having maybe a dual video. You either have, like SkyZone did, a dual video transmitter, or you have half resolution on a single channel, which the resolution is already not great. All in all, I think that people just didn't feel it was worth the hassle for the payoff. And it just never got popular. People have done it though. It's not a new idea. And it has been done, and everybody just uses 2D, and that's it. That's good enough. I've heard that it's really useful for like proximity style flying. The other thing is that for like long range or cruising where you're kind of far away from the obstacles, there's no real 3D effect anyway, because everything is so far away from you, it all flattens out. But for proximity flying, I've heard that it's kind of cool. Anyway, that's today. I think those things pretty much just aren't done anymore. They're not; those products really aren't made, and goggles don't really support it. Chris in the Discord asks, what would be the ideal charge rate for a Flywoo Explorer Molicell 6S2P 9,000 milliamp hour lithium ion pack? The ideal charge rate for any lithium polymer or lithium ion battery is 1C. 1C means you take the milliamp hours and you convert it to amps. So 9,000 milliamp hours is 9 amps. Milliamp hours is, you convert to amp hours. 9,000 divided by 1,000 is 9. So you go from milliamps to amps, and that gives you 9 amps. That's the answer. It's pretty much always 1C. Skyril asks, I'm unsure about firmware compatibility for flight controllers and ESCs. Could you enlighten us about the possibilities? Like, is it possible to try KISS on a SpeedyBee ESC? You can't put... KISS is a flight controller firmware. You can't put KISS flight controller firmware on an ESC at all. You can... I see what you're asking. You're not talking about the firmware. I apologize. Do you want to use a KISS flight controller with a SpeedyBee ESC? Yes, you can do that. The KISS flight controller can output D-Shot. The SpeedyBee ESC takes D-Shot protocol. The bottom line is that today, basically all flight controllers and ESC support D-Shot and can be used with each other. Now, there is going to be some features that maybe you give up. Like KISS flight controller like the KISS Ultra Flight Controller and the Voltara ESC. Like, these things are designed to work together, and there may be synergies and features that you only get if you're using them together. So Betaflight is generally designed to work with the BL Heli 32 or AM32 ESC, and KISS hardware like KISS Ultra or FetTech hardware are generally designed to work with a KISS ESC or a Voltara ESC, which is sort of in that family. The number one thing that you would want to make sure you weren't losing is the ability to configure the ESC, because like with Betaflight, you have BL Heli pass-through, where you connect to the flight controller and it passes through the signal to the ESC so you can flash and program the ESC. And I wouldn't assume, I would guess that Betaflight pass-through works on KISS, and I would guess that configuring the Voltara or KISS ESC doesn't work on Betaflight. But I don't know for sure. That's a pure guess. So generally, I would try to stay in the same family. If I were going to run a KISS flight controller, I would buy a Voltara ESC or a KISS ESC. Yeah. But you don't have to. The battery holder on my Flywoo Nano Baby 1S falls out when rolling or pitching very quickly. I did not encounter that issue. My guess is that your battery holder is just stretched out a little bit. One thing you could do is, well, it's a 3D print. You could just print yourself another one. I'm assuming you have a 3D printer. If you don't have a 3D printer, this is one of the big reasons why it's nice to have a 3D printer, not to rub it in. You should think about getting a 3D printer, because you could just bang off another one. And if it's a little too loose, you just shrink it slightly. In your slicer, you just shrink it, 98%. Shrink it down like 2%, 3%. Boom. Print it again, it'll hold tight. If you don't have the ability to do any of that, what you can do is take some electrical tape and put it around the battery, and it'll just give a little bit more surface area to grip, and maybe that would do it. Oof. Ragav FPV wants to 3D print legs for a 5+ kilogram drone. What should I do for max strength? That's, I mean... That's a tough one. I'm not sure.
Like CNC, is it CNC Kitchen has like a set of tests where he tests stuff like that.
Yeah.
I don't know what conclusion he came to, but that might be a place to look.
I remember learning that like a common place for a print to fail is to break along the layer lines. But I also think I've heard that the layer lines are actually stronger under some circumstances because the filament is melted and fused, and that like does something that makes it stronger. I'm not sure. I'm really not sure. I think if I were going to do legs, which legs are going to be sort of long and thin, I would be concerned that under stress they would snap along the layer lines. And I would print them laying flat so that the filament like runs the length of the leg, and then that's what I feel like intuitively would be the strongest. I don't think that 3D printing feet like this, 3D printing legs is probably the best idea, although with the right design and the right filament, they could be quite strong. Yeah. I think I would do it flat or at an angle, but not straight up and down. Let's take a super chat here from Exiled FPV. Thank you for a $5 super chat. Just saying thanks for all I do for FPV. Well, thank you so much for the donation. Really appreciate it. Thank you for $10 from Catnip for Gamers. Thank you from Peter. I can't read. I cannot pronounce Polish names. I can't read Polish. The letters don't. I don't know how to read the letters. I like your channel. Thank you, Peter, for €5 or £5. A Polish guy is leaving me a payment in pounds sterling. Fair enough. I recently, well, not so recently, a little while back, I was annoyed that I would see writing in Cyrillic script, and I couldn't make the sounds make sense. I couldn't make the letters make sense. My brain just was like, those letters don't make sense. So I learned to read Cyrillic script. I don't actually know what the words mean, you understand? but I can make the sounds, right? So I knew what sounds the letters made. And it was just a curiosity. And then I learned that Polish has a lot in common with like Russian and Ukrainian. Actually, more in common with Ukrainian than Russian. But Polish is similar in terms of the phonemes and sounds that make up the Polish language. It's just they don't use Cyrillic script. And that if you actually understand how to read Polish writing, like the sounds that it's making are the similar sounds to the ones I learned when I learned Cyrillic script. But I never put together how to actually read. So that's my next task, is to learn to read Polish. Again, not actually understand what I'm reading, but at least be able to look at Lewoniec and have an idea of actually what sounds that's supposed to be making. Yeah. My friend Kevin Doherty, Stinger Swarm, some of you may know him from YouTube. He's actually married to a Polish woman, and he actually learned to speak some Polish because he wanted to speak with his wife and speak with her family, and I was super, super impressed at that. I don't know, super impressed. FPV Natic, thank you for €5. I'm using the DJI N3 with the RC3 with the O4 Pro. And sometimes after I change battery, the N3 switches the protocol from SBOD fast to normal. I have, that's like clearly a bug, right? I have no idea. Like, update your firmware and cross your fingers that it goes away, because I have no idea. That's like not supposed to happen. It's not a known issue, which I think is what you're asking me. Blunty, it looks like there's an ongoing issue from DigiDude in the Discord. Is that worth calling out for the channel? Or I see it doesn't look like you've queued it.
Oh yeah, we're just trying to figure out. He has a problem with SBUS on his drone from DJI. Mm-hmm. He's just trying to figure out if he's flashed for SBUS. So we've confirmed he's flashed for SBUS because the bars are colored.
Yeah.
So now we're trying to confirm which UART it is.
Going for 2 months to get my FPV controller working. I feel like if he were to just, I feel like that's a solvable issue. Like, maybe not here on the live stream, but... Yeah, when people say, I've tried every UART, it's like, well, that's cool, but, like, just look at the documentation and figure out the right one. What flight controller does he have, Blunty?
It's a Pavo Femto. I haven't figured out what flight controller it is yet.
Let's take a look. Pavo Femto. What flight controller is it? Sometimes one of the things that happens is Beta FPV will release a new generation of their hardware. So there may be an earlier version of this that had a different flight controller. And that may be why you're getting conflicting information about which UART to use. Here's the FC. It's the F4 20 amp, yada, yada, yada. And what we're looking for is the DJI plug. Okay, here is the DJI plug right here. And annoyingly, it just says SBUS. Hang on, let me zoom in. So annoyingly, it says SBUS and not a UART number. Likewise here, SBUS, but no UART number. Okay, so if you're just going to say SBUS and not tell me the UART number, which I absolutely need to know the UART number, otherwise I can't configure the damn thing. If you're not going to tell me, then hopefully somewhere in the documentation, you will tell me. 2 UART, 1 SBUS. We upgraded the FC. Okay. Here we go. We upgraded the flight controller. So this may be why you're getting... Hold on one second, Blunty. This may be why you're getting conflicting information. People are saying it's one UART versus another. This is something Beta FPV does a lot. It's good that they're upgrading, but it means that the answer depends on which flight controller you have. Okay? Go ahead, Blunty. Okay.
I was just pointing out that note right there.
Yeah, it's either UART 5 or UART 6. Okay. So we can presume that information is correct. Don't mess with any of the other UARTs, okay? First of all, figure out which of these flight... Again, don't guess. Don't guess. Sometimes guessing works. Guessing is a fallback. Try to know which of these do you have, okay? That's a big difference. One's 2 to 3S, one's 1S. That's a big difference. Like the whole battery is going to be different. Anyway. So it's either UART 5 or UART 6. Okay? So, identify which flight controller you have as best you can, and we can click through. Like if we click through on these two, let me zoom out here. So what I did is I just clicked through right here to look at both of them. Are they visibly different? Yes, they're very visibly different. Okay, so it should be obvious to you which of these two flight controllers you have. Here is the 1S V3, and that's UART 5. Here is the 2 to 3S V1, and that's UART 6. Okay, so now, excuse me, don't dick around with like, guessing. You know that it's UART 6 or UART 5, depending on which flight controller you have. So then, I have to plug in a flight controller. Hold on. There's about to be a beep. Wait for it. Boop-doop. I don't want you guys to think that was your computer by accident. Then we'll go into the ports tab. For UART 5 or UART 6, we're going to enable serial RX. Done. Excuse me. In the receiver tab, we're going to set SBUS. We're going to save and reboot. And then in the CLI, I'm going to zoom in here.
Are you flash for SBUS?
I don't think it matters. It doesn't matter. We're just doing a demonstration.
Okay.
Because we, oh no, it does matter. It does matter because I'm not flashed for SBUS. So okay, so in the receiver tab, he said that he did have the colored bars, but in the receiver tab, if you have no color bars after setting SBUS, it means that you need to reflash. But you don't. You said that you had this, so it doesn't matter. You're good to go. But you would need to reflash with radio protocol SBUS. Okay? And then the last thing you're going to do, so you do have color bars. You went to the receiver tab, you set SBUS as your protocol, you do have colored bars, not like me. So you're good to go there. And in the CLI, we're going to type set SBUS baud fast equals on. I'm going to get an error message. You won't, hopefully. And save. Okay? Once that's done, the flight controller is set up correctly. Finally, make sure your hand controller is bound, solid green light on the RC controller. And then in the goggle menu, make sure protocol is set to fast instead of normal SBUS. And that should do it. That should do it. If it's not working, you're missing one of those steps or your wiring is not plugged in correctly. But that should do it. It's all of those things. Johnny says, I've had this issue before with SBUS inversion being set wrong. I mean, I guess that's worth checking, but the default settings should be correct. I don't know how that would have happened. Yeah, that's weird. So there you go. Hopefully that helps. I have a video. Of course I do. I have a video. How to bind DJI RC controller to Betaflight. This is the video. But if the flight controller is not also set to how to bind DJI RC controller to Betaflight. It has details of all these steps. And hopefully that can get you there. Here's the same question from Frame of Mind Studios. My DJI FPV Controller 3 will not work in Betaflight no matter what I try. Again, not to be like, well, just go look at my video, but that video should take you through every step and every contingency, I hope, to get it working. Again, That same video that I just showed 1 minute ago. So hopefully that'll get you there. Would a 2.4 gigahertz analog signal go further with a sub-gigahertz receiver? In general, 2.4 gigahertz video does go further than 5.8 gigahertz video. Yes. Watt for watt, of course. And 1.3 gigahertz goes even further. Okay. There are issues where you get harmonics of the control link interfering with the video link. And so you may need a filter to filter out those harmonics on your controller. But it is absolutely doable. And people who go like really long range oftentimes will use either 2.4 gigahertz or 1.3 gigahertz analog video to get even longer range. That being said, you can get pretty long range on 5.8 gigahertz, and many people do. Gamma Gonad. Thanks to, I just noticed all these questions are coming from the Discord. Thank you guys for being patrons. Patrons get access to the Discord server, so appreciate that. About to pull the trigger on a GX12 and Nano Crossfire TX to stand in for my main transmitter. Is the GX12 still your go-to? It is. I'm still using the GX12 as my go-to. I like the Boxer better, but well, then why is the GX12 my go-to? Good YouTube teaser content. I like the ergonomics of the Boxer better. I think it feels better in the hand. And I like the AG01 gimbals on the Boxer. However, the GX12, the gimbals aren't bad. They're pretty good. They're just not as nice as the AG01s in terms of premium feel. And I like the smaller size of the GX12. I like that the GX12 is dual band, so I can bind to both 900 and 2.4 gigahertz receivers. And the GX12 has a little bit more, it has, I think, a little more switches than the, the Boxer has switches, but they're these flush press switches that I don't find to be very, very easy to use. I don't like them very much. And I think the GX12 has a little bit more controls to play with. So the GX12 is still my go-to. Yes. Is there a way for the DJI Air 04 to control a gimbal directly like Walksnail does? I mean, sure, because like the Avata does it, right? But no, not with like just the third-party FPV hobby stuff. No. GIS-FPV, not that I know of. I don't think so. GIS-FPV asks, can you suggest a good 10-inch dead cat frame, which is not the Helion 10? Ha! As my 7-inch is too slow in windy conditions. Can you suggest a good 10-inch dead cat frame? Not really. Not really. I don't have a suggestion off the top of my head. I do know the Helion 10 has some people have jello issues with the Helion and want to stay away from it. The Project 399 comes to my mind. Do they have a 10-inch? Super G10. So you might consider the Project 399 Super G10. I only say that because I think their 7-inch frame has a good reputation. I don't specifically know a lot about their 10-inch. But their 7-inch frame has a good reputation. Skydozer is suggesting the Super G. Very nice. So as far as does it fit the 04, I mean, you're just going to use, I don't know. Can it fit the 04 camera? Or is it too narrow? I mean, it looks like it might work. I can't quite tell. I think there's room in there, but I'd want to double check that it'll hold the camera. But it's not Dead Cat. Oh, he asked about Dead Cat. Yes. He asked about a Dead Cat. Oh, you're right. That's not a Dead Cat. Okay, knock that off. GEP-RC EF10 frame. Also not a Dead Cat. Okay, so no. What about the HLRC Recon 10? Dead Cat? It is a Dead Cat. Okay, here's the winner. This is the only 10-inch dead cat that we've found so far. Does it work with the 04? I'm not sure. It's made for the 03. That doesn't mean it'll fit the 04 though. The 04 camera is significantly deeper than the 03.
Super Deluxe claims that dead cat 10-inch flies bad.
Whoa. Based on, in what way? Based on what? That's a very broad statement to just be like, to generalize that way.
Sorry, it doesn't fly all good.
All right. Well. Yeah, the thing is, there are a lot of 10-inch frames that fly badly. It's not a given that it's because of dead cat. I mean, when you get to a frame that size, designing it to not have vibrations and stuff is a little bit challenging. So, but he wants a dead cat, so dead cat's what he's going to get. Jasper Glorieux asks, I'm a student currently practicing on the sim with a DJI controller. Is it smart to buy a drone with DJI Air units or something else? Is it smart to be future-proof right away? The question is, do you want to go into the DJI ecosystem? And this is a topic that we've talked about in some depth on other live streams. I don't want to sort of just rehash that ground. DJI is a very good system technologically. It's relatively easy to use. Some people don't like being locked into DJI's ecosystem, and there are things that DJI doesn't do and may never do that some people find annoying. The main reason people stay away from DJI is the cost, although in the digital systems, DJI is not that much more expensive and in some cases less expensive, looking at specifically goggles, than the alternatives. The other thing people don't like is that like every, say, 2.5 years, DJI releases a new system, and every, say, 4 to 5 years, there's a generational shift where they're no longer backwards compatible, generally speaking, with the older stuff. There are exceptions. That's not universally true. And so people say, well, if I know that after 5 years, my stuff's going to be kind of obsolete, like the hardware may not be available anymore, and new air units may not be compatible with the goggles. So basically, I'm going to be forced to upgrade or undergo some difficulty. Like, that's one of the objections people have to DJI. But there are many, many people who fly DJI and love it and don't care about that. So I don't think that it would be wrong to go with DJI Air units, and many people would be happy with that decision. The real answer is it's complicated. Is it possible to hack or mod the Walksnail Goggles L for HDMI or analog input? I mean, I suppose anything is possible, but I think the answer to that question is no. No one's doing that, as far as I know. Yeah, Super Deluxe says that's my point. Super Deluxe, Fly High FPV. Fly High FPV says, yeah, 5 years on $500 goggles and sell them used for $250 when you're done. Pretty good value to me. I don't know, man. Like, if you look at the V2 goggles, okay, from DJI, like the V2 goggles came out. Let's look at when the Caddx Vista and the V2. When did they come out? DJI Goggle 2, no. Let's see. I got to figure out when this released. 5 years ago.
Here's the problem.
Okay, enough about him. January 2020. Okay, so the Caddx Vista released, according to my review video, roughly around January of 2020. Okay? So if you bought the V2 goggles and the Caddx Vista in January of 2020, the V2 goggles were compatible with the 03, and they're not compatible with the 04. So the 04 just released in, say, early 2025. So basically, let's say the lifespan of the V2 goggles was January 2020 to January-ish 2025. That's 5 years. Except you can still... 4 years? Am I off by one?
The V2 goggles were January 2021, just so you know.
Well, the Vista came out in 2020.
Yes.
Oh, that was with the V1 goggles.
Yeah.
Oh, my
Oh,
bad.
the Air Unit was first, right? I can't remember if this came out at
Well,
the
the
same time.
DJI Air Unit, when did the V2 goggles come out? Hang on.
V2 goggles are January 2021,
Well,
as far as I can tell.
That's the date we should be going by, because the V1 goggles never got O3 compatibility. Okay, so January 2021. Fine, 4 years. The V2 goggles have basically a 4-year lifespan. Before, and that's not even true, because you can still get the RunCam Link video transmitter, which is the Vista. So, but that I think is an exception. That's a 4-year lifespan. And Fly High says sell them used for $250, but realistically, I don't think many people are buying the V2 goggles used for very much these days. I think the V2 goggles are I wouldn't buy them at all, because like they're really at the end of the ability to buy air units for them, unless you're going to buy Vista air units off the used market, which that'll be available for a long time because there's so many of them out there. But I think it's going to get harder and harder and more expensive. I wouldn't do it. But like, so you got 4 years out of those goggles. I think a lot of people would consider that a good deal. The G2 goggle. Blunty, you want to look up when the G2 released? Joshua Bardwell, DJI goggles 2. When did the G2? That would be my Avata review. Yes. So my Avata review came out April. Oh, that's the Avata 2 and the goggles 3. No, sorry, that's the G3. Where's my Avata review?
See, in
Avata
November 2020 or November 2022.
November. Okay, so 2022, late 2022, the Goggles 2 came out. Goggles 2 are compatible with the O3. Amazingly, they're backwards compatible with the Vista, but let's look forward for this sake of this conversation. The Goggles 2 are compatible with the O4. So 2022 to 2025, that's 3 years, and probably another year at least until the O5 comes out, and maybe the G2 will not be compatible anymore. So we're getting about 4 years of lifespan out of them. Now, if you're like, no, I want more. Okay. Yeah, you fly your Fat Shark analog goggles for 10 years. More power to you. You're getting, you fly them for 12 years. Whatever. More power to you. The point is that if you want to get into the DJI ecosystem and get the best RF link and the best image quality, not the best latency, okay? But I don't think anybody would argue that like you get the best image quality and the most resilient, robust RF link with DJI. Then the price you're going to pay is that roughly 4 to 5 years later, your shit's going to be obsolete and you're going to have to buy new shit. And you just need to know that going in. And many people are okay with that.
Just throwing it out there. There are sold listings on eBay for V2 goggles for $284 and $279 pre-owned.
V2 goggles?
Sold V2 goggles, yes.
Holy
May 25th
shit.
Or May 23rd. So
who's buying V2 goggles at that price? Wow.
I don't know, but there are quite a few sold listings. So it's happening.
Okay. So then you're going to pay, I mean, these days you get a DJI goggle for $400, maybe $350, and then sell it in 4 years for $200. It's a pretty good, it's not a terrible deal for a lot of people. Anyway, enough said about that. Go ahead.
I've heard goggles 3 have sold out, or at least are hard to find.
Yeah.
And so I wonder if we're seeing some kind of reactionary thing where people are just spending on whatever DJI goggles they could find. I'm not sure though.
Yeah, but these, I mean, I guess they're O3 compatible. So that's something. Yeah. How about that? I'm amazed. I mean,
I agree. I wasn't expecting to see them sold for that high, but
like the Integra are $350. That's shockingly close to the price of an Integra for a V2. Anyway.
There's like one a day selling for that price on eBay right now.
Man.
Yeah.
I don't know who's buying V2s.
Oh, was that
these
Integra
days.
in stock?
No, not currently. But
Well, I
that's
think
like,
that's part of the problem is you can't buy any of these goggles. Like somebody asked me about Goggles 3, and I could not find an in-stock Goggles 3 the other day.
oh, interesting. You think that they're buying V2s just to get anything,
Well,
but
if
they
you
don't
want to
have
get into
they don't have
FPV,
they don't have O4
how long are you going to
compatibility.
wait? How long are you going to wait to try to get in?
I
You know?
guess if you want to get in with O3, which is not bad. All right. Okay. Gordon Freeman wants to know how to get accustomed to the fisheye effect for beginners. The visuals we get on analog are not even close to what we see on liftoff. I mean, I can't compare what you're seeing on your quadcopter to liftoff. The fisheye, the field of view is a software setting. You could take liftoff and you could increase the field of view. I mean, that's doable. I'm pretty sure. I guess I'm not 100% sure. I'm pretty sure you can change the field of view on liftoff. You could change the lens on your analog camera to a narrower lens if you like. I don't think you should, though. You want a wide field of view when flying because that's how you can see like what's around you. You don't have peripheral vision. You can't, like in real life, you move your eyes to see what's around you, even imperceptibly, right? It's subconscious. With an FPV drone, you don't have the ability to do that. So as you're like going around a turn or so you're flying next to an object and you want to see how close you are to the object, you need a wide field of view, and that results in a fisheye effect. I think you just have to get used to it, because if you switch your camera lens to a narrower angle lens, you will not be able to see what's around you and you will fly worse as a result. How do you get used to it? Just practice, experience. I have to say, that's how all FPV pilots fly. Here's the thing. Somebody is new, they get into the hobby, and they're like, I don't like this thing. I want to do it differently. You got to at least pause and say, why is it that everyone... Is this a problem with, like, my setup? Or is this, I just need to embrace it and understand that that's just how it's done, right? Like, I met somebody today, last week, I met somebody. He was a pilot who had grown up flying mode 1. So his controller had rudder on the left and yaw on the right. He grew up flying mode 1, and he was going through a training course, and the training course was being done in mode 2. And he was completely screwed up. And he said he emailed me and he said, I want to know how I can set my controller up so that if I flip a switch, it's in mode 1, but like if I flip a switch, it's in mode 2. So that like if the instructor walked up to him and said, here, let me have your controller, I want to demonstrate something to you, or I don't know, I'm making this up. He could just flip the switch real quick, hand his controller to the instructor, it would be in mode 2. When the instructor hands it back, he flips the switch, it's in mode 1. And I was like, yeah, I could show you how to do that. But what you need to do is suck it up and learn mode 2. It sounds like whatever job you're training for, whatever organization you're about to work for, they want you to be in mode 2. And like, yes, you can set your Betaflight flight controller and your Edge TX hand controller up to switch modes. But when they hand you a DJI Avata, are you going to really quick go in and change modes? When they hand you, God only knows what other drone you might be flying. They're all going to be in mode 2. You just need to suck it up and learn mode 2. And that's gonna suck. But that's just what you got to do. Likewise, people say, I'm having a lot of trouble controlling my throttle. What do I need to do? Throttle expo, throttle scaling. Maybe, but the actual truth is most people just fly, they just learn to control the throttle. So as a beginner who's having like struggles, maybe you start with a little bit of throttle expo, or maybe you start with some throttle scaling, but your goal should be to just be able to, like they say, fly better, right? And it's the same thing that we have here. Like, this fisheye effect is confusing you. Every single FPV pilot is flying with that field of view. So is the problem that the fisheye effect is like, that's not doable, I need to change my camera? Or do you just need to get used to it and understand that there's a reason why we all fly with this ultra wide angle lens, And you don't understand what the reason is yet because you're new here. You know? Yeah. And, like, I feel bad saying that. I'll say one more thing on this topic. Because, like, the part of me that is still a rebellious teenager is like, oh, you're saying I should do it that way just because that's the way it's always been done and that's the way everybody else does it? Well, I'm an individual. I do it my way, and I'm going to change everything for the better by showing you that you're old. It's not like, you know, freaking Kevin Bacon in Footloose. I'm going to go dance in the town square. The adults can't tell me I have to fly mode 2. Right? And there is a place for that. But what I like to say is that before you can innovate, you need to understand why it's done the way that it's done. Right? If you show up and it's your first week on the job and you look around and you go, that's stupid. That's stupid. Why do we do it that way? No, we're going to do it differently. No, we've all had, well, I don't know that we've all had, but we can all identify with a new manager or a new owner of the company charging in and going, everything you're doing is stupid. We're going to do it different now. And they screw everything up. Because they don't understand why we do it the way that we do it. And even if the way that we do it is stupid, you can't make it better unless you understand why we do it the stupid way. Otherwise, it's just a crapshoot that you're going to give us something better. So before you say, I want to do something unique and different, understand why we do it the way we do it, and then decide if that's a good decision for you. And with the field of view, there's a reason we do it that way, and you probably just need to suck it up and get used to it. There you go. iGal, you are 100% right. Switching between mode 1 and mode 2, or vice versa, is like that backwards bicycle from Smarter Every Day. Your brain just shifts. And I will tell you this. The process of flying a drone is so subconscious that you cannot, and I've tried this, if I hand you a drone and you're a mode 2 pilot, and I say this drone's set up in mode 1, and that means that yaw and rudder are backwards. You got that? You got that? Yaw and rudder are backwards. Yaw's on the left and rudder, or yaw's on the right and rudder's on the left. Okay. And you're like, yes, I got it. Rudder, yaw. Okay, here we go. I'm going to fly. The minute you take off, your brain will just go back to doing what it always does, and you cannot consciously override it. It's you have to remap your brain, and then you just shift gears, and now you're subconsciously doing the other thing. You know? So. And there are pilots who can fly in both mode 1 and mode 2. They do exist. They're weird and impressive, and I'm not one of them. I knew a dude who learned to fly accidentally. He learned to fly with yaw reversed. So left yaw was right yaw and vice versa, kind of like the rudder on a ship. Instead of moving the nose, he was moving the tail. And, you know, there's nothing wrong with that. Like, first-person shooters give you the option to do inverted yaw, right? Basically, inverted stick. Some people are just more comfortable with inverted stick. But he learned to fly that way, and then that's just it. He was locked in for the rest of his life. He never changed it. He would just invert the yaw channel on all his drones. There you go. Anyway. I think that's a fun topic. Sticks says my rush tank is not switching back to 800 milliwatts on my second time arming. I have low power disarm on. Sticks, I don't know about that, but I would probably just turn low power disarm off and hope it was working. I don't know if it's a bug in Betaflight, like maybe try a different version of Betaflight, flash it from 453 to 452 or 451 or something. But
Isn't there some issue where smart audio can't command pit on, but it can command it off, or something like that, or it can't command it off more than one time? Like I remember some specific bug with low power disarm where like it only works once because there's some issue with smart audio where you can't command in or out of pit.
You could take it out of pit mode, but not put it back in, or something.
Or like if it's in again and you can't remove it again. I don't know. Something very specific I remember. And my solution has always been just turn off low power disarm because this bug exists on some.
But if you're going to do low power disarm, so I have always had trouble getting beta.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Sorry, Ciotti says it's free versus race in the OSD menu. That changes that feature.
Huh. All right. Well, table that for a second.
Okay,
so I've always had trouble getting Betaflight to put video transmitters into pit mode. I've found it to be unreliable and have basically given up on it. And if it always works for you, great. But I always just leave pit mode off. And if I'm doing low power disarm, it just goes to 25 milliwatts. So does low power disarm go to enable pit mode? I don't think it does. I think it puts it at 25 milliwatts. And I don't think low power disarm can put it into pit mode. So what I would say is if it's not working, yeah. So let's, like, you could try on until first arm, and then it'll stay at full power after arming once. What Ciotti is proposing, you could make your own version of low power disarm with the VTX commands. You could make a manual version. What Ciotti is proposing is I think I documented this a long time ago.
This is the HX115LR from Beta.
Oh, look at him with this. Look how much black is in his beard. So young. So idealistic. Yeah, here we go. So in the
yours will come this way, but just in case. So we're going to go into the Betaflight OSD. We're going to go to Features, VTX, and I had pit mode on, and even when I tried to turn pit mode off, it didn't work. What you need to do is go into Config, and then go into Op mode, and you'll see the Op mode is set to Race. You want to change that to Free or Freestyle.
Okay.
In race mode, it always powers up. In pit mode, in free or freestyle mode, it will power up at full power. And let's just go back and save and exit, or save and reboot. Let's just see if that sticks. Config is free. Okay, great.
Yeah. So that's the change Ciotti is saying to make. It's worth a try. I mean, I don't see how pit mode is causing this. We got another one here. Oh, very interesting. Low power disarm overridden by VTX control. So if you have set up any of the VTX commands, they will override low power disarm. Oh, that's very interesting. I mean, I guess I assumed you would have told me if you had done that, but maybe you didn't. So if you have set up any VTX commands, they'll override low power disarm, and maybe that's going on.
Yeah, this is very old and not documented well, and nobody has replied to it, just to be clear. But it is possible that...
I mean, it sounds like he's documenting that this happens and asking for a fix, and no one wants to fix the issue because that's the intended outcome, is that VTX control overrides low-power disarm.
Yeah, I'm just saying it's like 2023, and it wasn't confirmed by a dev, so it might be like 4.4 or 4.5. It could be a different bug, but yes, it does sound similar.
Yeah. All right, well, hopefully some of that is helpful. Okay. Delta Vector says, as a newcomer to the hobby, it's been a bit of a surprise to find such a hostile community here. Who's being hostile to Delta Vector? Was it me? I'm hostile sometimes. What is a 3D printer you would recommend, says Delta Vector. Pick any bamboo printer in your price range. That's the short answer. Oh. He's responding to Hossman. Thank you for a $20 super chat, Hossman. I've been given the runaround and ripped off by others in this community. Here's what I'll say about that. So first of all, Hossman, it sucks that you've been given the runaround and ripped off. That sucks. No one likes that. I want to say I'm sorry, but I didn't do it. I'm not responsible for it, so I kind of feel like that's not the right turn of phrase, but that sucks. I've been involved in various communities in my life, and I have become disillusioned with the use of the word community in certain contexts. I think that a lot of times the word community is used to imply things that really aren't true. Like here's a way that it's used that I don't agree with. This is not what's happening here. This is just another example. People will say, the community thinks X, or the community wants this. And what they mean is, I want this, and I want to feel like a whole bunch of other people agree with me. Right? And I'm like, well, I don't know what community you think you're speaking for. But you speak for yourself, you know. That I think that a lot of times there's this idea that there is a monolithic community out there, and what there really is it's just a bunch of people. There isn't a community. There is an online group that everyone's a part of and hangs out in. There are a whole bunch of people partaking in a hobby, but there is no community in any real social sense. What you have is, you have yourself, you have the people you know. Like, I personally know the people in the Knoxville area, some of them that come to races, I've met them. Like, I have a general connection with them, and then a whole bunch of other people who I am tangentially connected to over the internet. And it feels like there's this community that I'm a part of. But in reality, like, we don't know each other. We don't know anything about each other's life or our beliefs or our preferences, our wants. And, you know, the community is a very self-centered community. You know about yourself, and you vaguely see the ways in which other people sort of brush up against your bubble. But in fact, there's no real community. If you look at like a workers' union, a union hall, a trade union, that's the word I'm looking for. Like, these dudes, I'm probably going to say some things that are wrong, but I have the impression that, like, they have meetings, they pay dues, they get together in a room, they talk about what they want, they vote. Like, they have these structures that mean that, like, collectively they move and act as a unit. Right? That's one way that a community can be real and not just sort of amorphous and sort of in your head. There are communities of people who do social events together. They do regular social events. Their families get together. This is a social community, right? And like, with your local racing chapter, you may have a community in that sense, but the FPV community as a whole doesn't exist. It's not a real thing. There are a bunch of people who participate in this hobby, and that's what we have in common, but more than that, it's hard to say. The other thing that people do with community is they act like everyone is such a great community. Oh, I'm so surprised that this bad actor is present in this beautiful community. That's the honeymoon phase. You think the community is beautiful because you're currently in love with it. There are just as many shitheads in the world of FPV. My God, look at the rave community, right? The rave community, I don't know how it is, you know, today, but like at the height of like the rave community, everybody, you know, love and light, and we're all gonna love each other. And then people were shitheads. People were shitheads there, you know, there's all kinds of shitheads in any community. Even look at the rainbow people. right? Rainbow people, oh, love and community and hippies and going to go to the woods and we're going to live. And there's full of shitheads everywhere. The shitheads are everywhere. There is no community that is immune from it. So the good news is, like, you're coming out of the honeymoon phase and you're going into the sort of marriage phase, if you will, with the FPV community. And I'm sorry, there's shitheads everywhere. So, open your eyes and don't get taken advantage of, hopefully. And, hang on to the people. Some communities are better than others. Some communities are better than others. Some communities are actively toxic. Like, a community does have a feel. And, and so, like, FPV community, I think, is not actively toxic in the way that some other communities are, but there's just as many shitheads in FPV as there are anywhere else.
Also, it's important to remember that the way social media works now, it creates individual communities based around social medias. So, like, if you're interacting with a group of people responding in Facebook groups versus a group of people responding on Reddit versus a group of people responding in a public Discord versus people responding in private Discords, right? Those are all going to be different experiences of people that you get. And in our case, like, we've cultivated a community through JB's paid Patreon so that we have a little less of the riffraff, right? And we have a little more filtering in case we run into the riffraff who get in anyway. And that means we have a little more of a chill community who's happy to answer questions and we don't troll people and that sort of thing. But as you spread out into public and as you spread out into different social climates, you're going to get the influence of those social climates and the influence of it just being public. Yep. And I think that's the case of any community, FPV or auto or guns or whatever, right? It's just the case that these little bubbles are going to form and then be insular or annoying or answer questions poorly or whatever they tend to do because the bubble they live in.
Yeah. I think that's one of the reasons, like, when I made my Discord server private, it's only available to patrons. And part of the reason was that I don't have anything that's patron exclusive. Like, I don't make patron exclusive content. I just give all my content away, and I always have, and I probably always will. I don't really paywall any of my content. So I was like, well, what can I give to the patrons? And I was like, I know, I'll start a Discord server and I'll make it patron only. But my main reason for doing that was that when you have any barrier to entry whatsoever, you filter out people who don't want to be there, right? I think the people who are sort of the most toxic and the most harmful to a community are people who kind of don't give a fuck if they're there or not. And so then, like, something comes across and they're like, and they just shoot. They don't care if they get kicked out. They don't care if they're there. And they're not going to be there to really see the fallout of their actions. And if there is any barrier to entry to a community at all, the people who are it filters out. It's like a low pass filter on some level of toxicity. So that's the main reason that my Discord server is patrons only. Just so that, like, if you can't be bothered to pay $2 a month, then you don't get to be there. Right? And that means the people who are there are people who are just a little bit more interested in being there and a little bit more polite about being there, Anyway. And then we can, and then we have moderators. And Fox on Silverfro says mods are, if the low pass filter is the barrier to entry, then the mods are the high pass filter. I like that a lot. Yeah, that's actually pretty accurate because a high pass filter shaves off the peaks. So the low pass filter just gets rid of the lowest level of sort of people who don't give a fuck and are going to be a problem because they don't give a fuck. And then the high pass filter is when a particular issue spikes up, the mods filter that out too. That's really interesting. I like that a lot. Let's read some more super chats. Nishant Pinto, thank you for $10. I finally moved from digital to analog. DJI Goggles 3 were bought from a US-based retailer. Do I need to do an FCC hack for max power? Yeah, I'm not sure, but yes. Do the FCC hack just to be sure. It's not hard. You put a file on an SD card. It's done. You never do it again. The goggles are unlocked forever. Just do it. Emoto Dudes, thank you for a $5 super chat. Can the goggles N3 communicate directly to the Air Unit 04? Yes. And send head tracking info to the gimbal like Walksnail does? No. No. DJI doesn't support head tracking. The Avata has a head tracking gimbal. The goggles have a head tracker in them, but they don't send that information to the Air Unit the way that Walksnail does. It only works with the Avata drone or other DJI drones. Sunshine, good to see you again. Thank you for $10. Have you seen the video of the drone pilot that flew into an F1 or F2 tornado? Pretty impressive. What's your guess for the build used? I couldn't begin to guess the build. Let's take a look at the video, though. I guess I should be licensing this. Am I going to get a copy? Oh, I better not get a copy strike for this. Or some bullshit. If it's, I'm tempted not to watch this, because if this guy wants to license it, then does that mean they've got some copyright stuff on it? Anyway, we're not going to play this video because copyright. Here we go into the tornado. Did we come out the other side? He's hovering. Wow. How are you not getting sucked in? Jesus, this is incredible footage. This is incredible footage. Go in the tornado. Coward. No, he probably anyway. That's pretty badass. Wow. Wow. Oh, wow. Oh, that is something. How are you even flying? Dude, how are you even flying? That's incredible. Yeah, I know he goes in. All right, I'm not going to steal the clicks from this dude. Specially designed drones. They have a waiver to fly drones in tornadoes. That's cute.
Yeah, I tried to dig up a pic of the actual drone he's using, and I couldn't. I just found him building, typical racing drone style FPV drones. But
yeah, this is insane footage. Anyway, there's a link in the Discord server and a link in the chat if you want to go check it out. Let this guy have I don't even know if this is monetized, but we'll let them have their views. Serhi Lutak, what motor size and kV would you recommend for a 3-inch 4S 850 milliamp hour battery with a weight of 300 grams? I think about a 1600 motor. It seems like we have this question pretty regularly. Seems like we have this question pretty regularly. 1604, yeah. Like 1604, maybe 1606. A motor in that size range. You could do a 1507, sure. I think if weight is no concern, 1600 is the place to be for that build. Maybe not for a 3-inch. I would consider going to a 3.5-inch though. I think 3.5 inches, again, if weight's not a concern, 3.5-inch handles a lot better than 3-inch. Although 3-inch is pretty good. I think 1804 is going to be overkill, personally. Yeah. So, like, maybe. 1804 would certainly be the top of the range of what I would go for. For a 3-inch, I think 1804 is too much. For a 3.5-inch, 1804 is like the top of the range. But something in the 1604, 1606, maybe a 15 millimeter is okay. But a 16 is going to give better performance. Like the absolute minimum would be like a 1404. But that's not going to give, that's for if you're trying to save weight. Don't do that. And then for KV, I think it's going to be around 3000 KV. Maybe a little less. Probably not anymore. Crom, that's a very good point. Crom points out that if you care about durability, 1804 and 1507 are the first motors with an M5 shaft. And an M5 shaft is going to, again, weigh more, but be more durable. That's a really good point, Crom. If you care about an M5 shaft instead of T-mount, 1804 and 1507 is a good place to be. That's a really good point. I feel like 2004 is great for a 4-inch and okay for 3.5-inch or a Cinewhoop, but not right for 3-inch. Kai P thinks 3000 kV is too low. Are we talking 4S or 6S? He said 4S, didn't he? I apologize. That's my mistake. You're going to be closer to 4000 kV on 4S. 3800 to 4000 kV. Bruno Maya. The Walk Snail, thank you for a €5 super chat. The Walk Snail V1 goggles have a hard time reading OSD in the corners. Just move the OSD in. Move the OSD in from the corners. Yeah, I know you're trying to do it like with goggle foam and everything. Just move the OSD in from the corners. Done. You're welcome. Color one, there's not a better solution. That you want me to like pull a rabbit out of a hat and tell you it's something you haven't. There's no that you've tried all the things. Now you're out of things to try. Just move the OSD in from the corners. What would be a good starting quad for someone who only flies in large open fields but wants to do tight quarters, something powerful and fun? I mean, a 5-inch, like just a 5-inch freestyle build would be a great place to start. The iFlight Eco, the GEP-RC Vapor, these are good choices. Yeah, I mean, large open fields, a 5-inch is just the sort of standard for ripping around freestyle fun. That's the place to, that's a great place to start. GEP-RC Vapor X5 is a solid choice. Thank you for $20. KG4 FJC 220 megahertz. I hate to ask, I really wanted the JB Sub 250, but it's out of stock. Yeah, it's been out of stock because of tariffs. Thank you to the current administration who knows what's good for all of us and is making decisions about trade that any day now they're going to pay off and we're all going to benefit. But in the meantime, what was it? What's the saying? Short-term pain, long-term gain. Yep. Okay. I accept that. The short-term pain of these policies is that GetFPV cannot afford to import my Sub 250 beginner build. And we released it. The very first batch got in before the tariffs. It sold out and we have not been able to restock it. I don't think we restocked it one time. So thanks, all the work that went into that project. I mean, I'm not going to say it's wasted. The videos are still out there. People can still follow the videos, but the actual product you cannot buy because of the tariffs. GetFPV is not willing to take the risk of importing it and getting screwed. So that's a business decision that they're making. And sadly, we have to live with that decision. So, yeah, and if you sub other electronics, guess what? It's going to be way more expensive because of the tariffs. All right. Somebody said they're in stock now. Don't think that's right. I mean, let's check. No. It's out of stock. It's out of stock. No. It's out of stock. It's not in stock. And I'm bummed about it. I'm really bummed about it. I mean, you make this product, obviously you want to make money. Like everybody wants to like make money, but mostly I'm I feel very acutely the support that you guys give me. So a beginner especially who's not all jaded yet, they watch my video and they go, "That's great. This Bardwell guy seems like a real straight shooter. I'm going to go with him." And you're putting that trust in me, and that's going to build hopefully a relationship of a kind that you're going to like watch my videos, you're going to ask me questions, I'm going to help you out. You're going to email me 5 years from now and go, "Wow, Bardwell, I wouldn't be here without you." And we're all going to feel good about that. And like that's why I do this. Like the money, obviously, the career, the fame, even some would say prestige of being a YouTube's anyway. But it's that connection that means a lot to me, and this is why I do it. For you to watch that video and go, "I'm going to do this," and then it's out of stock for months and months and months. And I just think of all the people who decided to put their trust in me and then weren't able to follow through because there was nothing for them to buy. And I feel bad about that. But there's nothing I can do about it. Color123, thank you for a $5 super chat. If someone's being mean to you and they fly analog, always the analog pilots, fly a DJI setup next to them. Okay, that's just a dick move. Thank you for your super chat. Don't knock people out of the air on purpose. Really good bad boy, thank you for a $5 super chat. I bought a new 6S batteries. I have one sagging cell, each 1.7 and 2.4 volts. The retailer isn't helping. Should I charge anyway? No, if they sent you a battery and the battery had a dead cell, don't charge it. That battery is going to betray you later. It's going to be a problem. You may be able to charge it. That cell is going to be bad for the rest of that battery's life. It's going to die again and again, and eventually it's going to light on fire. There's not a 100% chance of that happening, but this is exactly the scenario where you get ahead of the fire that burns your house down, and you take that battery and you retire it. And if it truly did come out of the box with a dead cell and the retailer won't fix it for you, that sucks. I don't know the whole story, and I've seen enough times where someone has come to me and complained about a retailer, and then when the retailer shows me the full messaging history, I realized that there was more to the story that the person wasn't telling me. So I'm not going to take a stance on like whether an injustice is being done in your specific case or not. But if I got a battery out of the box, brand new, didn't charge it, nothing, and it had a bad cell right out of the box, I would expect it to be refunded or replaced. So, Troglodyte FPV, thank you for a $2 super chat. I'm having an issue where the drone misreads battery power. I would need more details to troubleshoot this. A lot of times this is because the flight controller is damaged and the voltage sensor is reading wrong. Technically, it could be a miscalibration, but usually the default calibration is accurate. Troglodyte, I need to know more details before I could really dive into this. You know, what is it reading? How is it like? There's not enough information here for me to give you a coherent answer, unfortunately. Troglodyte says the battery is fine. See. Again, I'm dying to know more. This is, but I don't want to just sit here and wait as you type out. Slowly type out. Give me a sec to type it out. All right, you type it out. Blunty, queue up Troglodyte when he comes through. Not a 5-inch. Sorry for not clarifying. Oh, you don't want a 5-inch. Okay. Why don't you want a 5-inch? What don't you like about 5-inch? I don't know. I need more information. Like to know why you don't want a 5-inch. Probably 3.5-inch, but for open fields, I would go much smaller than 5-inch to get the kind of speed to make an open field kind of feel fast and fun. Like 3-inch, you can do pretty good. Like 3 inches are great for proximity freestyle, but I feel like in a big open field, a 3-inch is going to feel underpowered and slow. It's not a given. Excuse me. Crom suggests a 7-inch. For open field freestyle, a 7-inch is pretty good. But he said he also, what did he say? He wants to do tight quarters. Tight quarters. He wants a big open field, but also tight quarters. 7-inch isn't going to be good for tight quarters, whatever that means. For open field freestyle, 7-inch is okay. 7-inch is pretty good. I do agree. Here's another super chat from Insane FPV. Thank you for $10, Insane FPV. iNav 801 on a 10-inch quad, sitting level pointing north. GPS pitch is 5 degrees off roll and 2 degrees off pitch. Do I need to shim my GPS unit? No. No. GPS has no alignment. The only reason that you need to do alignment for the GPS is for the compass. Here's the thing, though. If it's 5 degrees and 2 degrees off, you don't need just that does not require any adjustment whatsoever. So no is the answer. For a difference of, and it's the compass, but when you say it's 5 degrees off, I think what you mean is the GPS is slightly like cocked like that. You can ignore that. If you really care, go into the alignment tab and adjust the alignment of the GPS and the compass. But here's the thing. Number one, I would suggest setting magnetometer to none in iNav 8 and just let it work off GPS heading. That will get you acceptable return to home and alt-hold results a lot of the time. If you don't get acceptable results with compass set to none, then set compass to auto and save and reboot and re-enable the compass. And then you might need to, like, I wouldn't, but if you really want to, you go into the alignment tab and you adjust the GPS orientation to match the actual orientation. But I don't think 5 and 2 degrees is enough to care about. All right. Should I bother with an action cam and get the Caddx Vista or just get the O4 Pro? I don't think I would buy into the Caddx Vista these days, especially if the question is Vista plus a GoPro versus the O4. If you have the goggles Integra, just get the O4 and skip the action cam and don't buy a 2-generation-old video transmitter that may or may not be in production for who knows how much longer. Looks like Fly High FPV is building an FPV park in Alabama. In Alabama? Dirty South FPV Park. Whatever happened to Bach Grinder's FPV Park? Well, we'll look at that. Dirty South FPV Park. About our FPV park. Southeastern U.S. Run Amok Farms is freestyle flying. What to expect? What do we got? Huh. Any photos? Oh. Why is there no sound?
DirtySouthFPVPark.com. Right here on Run Amok Farms, which is my homestead farm. And yeah, man, we're building something awesome for you guys. So it's all volunteer labor.
No music, no copyright. Oh, yeah, it's got a lot of potential. Oh, I like it. I like it. That's a good start. Oh, that's a good start. Are those cut up pieces of culvert? Oh, that's a solid start. You get a lot of mileage out of those cut up pieces of culvert. That's smart. Oh, I like where this is going. Whatever happened to Bach Grinder's FPV park?
That says they're actively working on it.
Has there been an update? 11 months ago. When was his last update? 9 months ago. How to build an FPV park. One year ago, 9 months ago, 1 year ago, 5 years ago, 10 months ago, 7 years. It looks like the last update was like 9 months ago. Oh well.
That seems to have updates from somewhere. Super Deluxe says DJ and Maddie Blunt were working on it the whole weekend, still coming along. A few people in chat have said that I guess there's weather issues there and they're having problems, but they're still working on it slowly but surely.
So, I mean, people look at what, oh shit, what's the guy's name out in Portland? What's his frickin' name? I'm blanking. People look at what he did, and they're like, oh, I'd like to do that. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. Eric, that's it. Eric Sackler. Sackler? I think. Yeah, that dude put a lot of work in his project, in his property. Can I put the DJI Action 2 on your sub 250 kit? It won't be sub 250. It'll probably fly. I don't know if I'd recommend it. I think it'll fly worse, and I'm not sure I recommend it. Is the RC Power GTS V2 a good motor? Generally, RC Power makes very good quality motors. The question that we don't know the answer to is, what are you going to use it for? What size prop are you going to use it with? And how much will the drone that you're going to put it on weigh? So it is a well-made motor, but we can't say whether it's good for your application. All right. We're going to go a little bit long today because I started late due to technical issues. Blunty, I hope that's okay. And I got a bunch of questions in the queue. I'm going to see if I can run through these questions in the queue and get some of them out. Yeah. So Jason Aviator wants to know, why are GoPro action cams black? And that's just what color they make things, because black is cool. Black is tactical. Do you have any information on the GoPro 2024? I do not. I've heard about it. Honestly, since DJI became a thing, I've stopped running action cameras for the most part. Certainly since the 03. I still ran action cameras on my Vistas a lot of the time. Part of it's probably that I'm uploading less freestyle and flight content, and when I do, I'm less focused on like the cinematic amazingness of my backyard and more on just what am I doing. And the DJI 03 is more than good enough image quality for that. So certainly the 04. So I really am not keeping up much with GoPros. If I were to buy a GoPro today, I probably would just buy the latest one because it probably has the best specs and image quality. But no, I don't know a lot about the 2024. It is smaller. It doesn't have a detachable screen, I think. Yeah. Are the Eachine EV200Ds still worth it? What are they selling for? Can you still buy them? Have been, not really. 289, 253. I don't know if I would buy these today. I would buy the SkyZone Sky 040 as a kind of a budget-ish goggle. $339. This is, okay, so this is $80 less, which is not nothing. But this is a really solid and good set of goggles with very few compromises. This would be my budget analog goggle, such as it is. Or I might get the the HC0 box goggle if I wanted a box goggle to save even more money. What's the difference between motion JPEG DVR versus H.264 DVR? Can you really see the difference? Yes, 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 1,000 times yes. MJPEG DVR is garbage. Garbage. I would reject an analog goggle solely on the basis of the fact that it has MJPEG DVR. That is old encoding. It looks like trash. It is barely worth having. H.264 DVR looks so much better. Okay? Yes, 1,000 times yes, you can see the difference. Why can't we do data compression of the video like they do with a zip file and then do decompression on the goggles? Yes. You have just described H.264 and H.265 encoding. That's what it is. That's why DJI and Walkstill have better image quality than HD0, because they use and worse latency, because DJI and Walkstill use H.264 and or H.265 encoding, which compresses and decompresses the data, and Walkstill sends it raw and uncompressed. I mean, HD0 sends it raw and uncompressed. Why can't we do that? We can do that. We are doing that. Congratulations. You invented something that already exists. Do you recommend the 04 Lite for a 2.5-inch basher, or is it too fragile? I gotta tell you, between the durability issues and the field of view on the 04 Lite, I am much less excited about it than I was when it first came out. And I would try, on a 2.5-inch, I would absolutely try to put the 04 Pro instead of the 04 Lite, even though there's a weight penalty. Is there a way to modify the DJI RC controller to change it to an external module that I can put in a different remote like the Tango 2? In short, no. Anything is theoretically possible with enough determination, but the short answer is no. Did you know of the case where you update BLHeli S to Blue Jay, it only recognizes one motor and not all four anymore? I think you screwed up the flash. That happens when you screw up the flash, like I say, you screwed it up. You probably didn't do anything wrong, but the flash didn't go right, and now your ESC is hosed. And the only way to get it back is super annoying and requires soldering wires to tiny pads on the ESC. And the short version is that a lot of people would now consider the ESC to be bricked and just buy a new one.
Just a couple things also to note. Fair warning, it does look like this is happening when you leave your transmitter on, if your transmitter is bound to your drone and you're trying to flash the ESC at the same time it's bound to the drone.
Yeah, I've heard about that.
So don't do that. Yeah. Number two, if this happened, a lot of people leave things out and because they assume they know the whole full story. If you also flashed Betaflight at the same time or around the same time, then that can cause it because you can lose motors based on the software in Betaflight. So just consider for a second that if you did that.
Yeah, so
but if you didn't flash Betaflight, all you did was flash the ESCs, and suddenly one shows up and not four, then that certainly sounds like you bricked them, unfortunately.
Yeah. Go to the motors tab in Betaflight, and if you don't see four motors there, that's why you don't see four motors in BLHeli either.
Correct.
Yeah. Wicked Drum says, can we just 86 BLHeli S? No, Well, Blue Jay. It should be Blue Jay from the factory, not BLHS. Yeah, I agree. How can I distinguish FPV frames that are for DJI versus walk-snail air units? Most frames will fit both of them. Most frames are universal in that respect. There just needs to be, there's like not specialized mounting for DJI versus walk-snail. Like there may be screw holes in the back of the frame, and if those don't fit, just use some double-sided tape to hold it down. You know? Yeah. Super Deluxe Blue Jay never cost money. It was JESC that cost money, wasn't it? Blue Jay was always free, wasn't it?
Correct. Yeah, correct.
Yeah, it was JESC cost money. Rares Silka, the only issue I'm aware of with mounting is that not all frames can take the 04 camera. But the air unit itself, I think pretty much any frame, oh my gosh, will hold both walk-snail and DJI. Does the DJI FPV goggles and controller only work with DJI drones? No, you can buy air units and put them in a homemade drone and use them with a homemade drone. What is the suggested infill for normal parts? For GPS mounts, etc., I would use between 15 and 30% infill. There's really not a reason to go. Those parts, especially if you're printing with TPU, they're going to have a lot of give anyway. You don't want them to be too stiff, and you don't gain a lot of durability or rigid, by increasing the infill. For structural parts, the answer is not 100%. 100% infill adds weight without adding significant strength. Blunty, what was that YouTube channel? Tell me to the 3D printing channel. What's his name?
CNC Kitchen.
So what I would do is this guy does a lot of testing. CNC Kitchen. So let's look CNC Kitchen infill. Infill pattern and shells.
When it comes to the strength of your
how to get maximum strength out of your 3D prints. Okay, go watch this video from CNC Kitchen and do whatever he says, okay? I don't know the answer, but I know how to find the answer. And CNC Kitchen does really good testing.
It's for the full honey
of different. He does like real stress testing and strength testing. So do whatever he says. Super Deluxe, why do you say print TPU at 100% infill? I feel like you're just wasting filament at that point. What are you gaining?
comb patterns failed at.
Are you, or are you trolling? I think he's trolling. I don't see. There's almost never a reason to print at 100% infill. You think it gives more strength to protect, like more padding? He's not trolling. He's serious. He says he's serious. I mean, okay, he says 100% infill. I think that just adds a lot of filament. I'm not sure how much benefit you're getting. But why not just 80%, right? Like, even if you were to argue that 100% infill gives more shock absorption, like to protect the corner of a GoPro in a crash, like you're not talking about strength. It's TPU, so you're not talking about rigidity, but you're just talking about shock absorption and padding. I mean, I could make a counter argument that having some empty space in there gives better shock absorption because it can compress more. I don't know. And James also prints TPU at 100% infill because it stops rips through the structure. Yeah. Well, maybe. Maybe. People are saying maybe add walls instead of infill. Yeah. All right. Moving on. let's see here. We got a couple more super chats we're going to knock out. I have a 9-inch drone, but I want to fly it in a deep wooded area. Thank you for a $5 super chat, color 123, between trees and warehouses. I mean, just be careful. 9-inch props do not like bouncing off of branches. Put 7-inch props on your 9-inch drone to make it a little smaller. And fly carefully and fly good. Scott Marshall, thank you for a $10 super chat. Last night I pulled out my gear to get ready for the season, updated Betaflight, and had the SBUS DJI issue described earlier. As soon as you mentioned it, did the forehead slap. Awesome. Thank you, Scott Marshall, for a $10 super chat. Mo wants to know, what's the best way to improve in chasing drift cars? Is it oversaturated? It certainly is saturated, but do it because you enjoy it and you want to get good at it. Don't do it because you're trying to sell your footage. Don't worry about what's oversaturated. Love what you do, and you'll never oversaturate a day in your life, right? Does switching to digital help or hurt compared to analog for chasing? I think it helps. It helps in that you have a better video to like get close and tight. Although the latency difference may hurt. So depending on how close you're getting to the car, you may prefer to fly analog because it has better latency. Although, like Johnny FPV flies DJI and nobody's complained about his chasing. I think switching to digital is like, it's neither here nor there. Lots of people will chase in analog and do fine. People will chase in digital and do fine. So I think that's neither here nor there, but you will get better image quality with digital, that's for sure. The best way to improve, one of the things I would say to do is to get your up tilt angle correct. Your up tilt angle controls the speed that you're going when you're level with the car. So you want your speed, you want to be able to match the car's speed. And then as the car slows down, you have to drop. You have to drop to slow down, right? So, like, think about it. If my camera angle is flat, then I'm going to be not moving at all when I'm level with the car. And if the car starts moving, I have to pitch forward to go faster. And that means that I have to climb to keep the car in view. Let me get a drone here real quick. Okay? So, camera angle flat. Car starts moving. I have to pitch forward. Now I can't see the car. So I have to climb to keep the car in view. That means that when I'm chasing the car, I'm going to be over the top of the car. Okay? Now I add up tilt. Okay? Now I've got up tilt, right? See my up tilt? Focus on my up tilt. It won't do it. Why won't it do it? That's weird. Okay, anyway. So now I'm chasing the car and I'm pitched forward and I'm level with the car. Car slows down as it goes around a turn. I have to drop down, right? But that lets me, I also can kind of tighten up on the car, right? I can get low and tight on the car, and I can roll over, right? And like go around the car. So my point is that the up tilt angle is going to have a big effect on how you frame your shots relative to the car's motion. If the car speeds up and you pitch forward, you have to climb. The car slows down, you either have to descend or you have to like cock around. But a lot of times when the car slows down, you're going to zip around it anyway. So if you have too much up tilt, then you'll overshoot the car when it slows down for a turn. If you don't have enough up tilt, you'll be constantly high in order to keep up with it. So that's going to change your framing. You want to get that up tilt right so that you can get the framing nice and tight. Troglodyte says, what components will cause a misread in battery power? More info in the chat. Blunty, do we have that message queued? No? Troglodyte says, it doesn't matter what battery it is. I'm using 1500 milliamp hour 4S. When I fly the drone with a charged battery, it drops lower than normal and not come back up. I get a warning to land. I mean, the first... Is the voltage reading that you're seeing in your OSD accurate? That's the first thing I would check. is the voltage actually dying? And then the second thing I would check is that, he says it doesn't matter what battery it is. It doesn't matter. The voltage reading is not accurate. Okay, so is it accurate when you first plug in the battery? Does it read whatever, 4.15 volts? Or is it always inaccurate? I think you have a bad, I'm going to guess you have a bad voltage reading. It is accurate. Okay, if it's accurate when you first plug in and then inaccurate later, I think you must have damaged hardware. You either like a damaged flight controller and the voltage sense circuit is just damaged. It's multiple batteries. Yeah, I think I just conclude. If it was inaccurate all the time, you could have a calibration value wrong. But if it's accurate at first and then becomes inaccurate, I don't see what that could be other than bad hardware. Yeah, the flight controller, correct. Okay. All right, guys. Kaiboy, does the 100 hertz on Goggles Integra make up for no race mode? No, it doesn't. The latency is still better. No, the latency is still better in race mode. Would this gimbal thing help with the question about filming drift cars? Yes, 100%. The Medlin gimbal is great for chasing cars because it lets you change your pitch angle of your camera independent of your drone. All right, guys, we're going to wrap up. Thank you guys for showing up. Sorry about the technical issues that most of you probably didn't even notice because it's the end of the stream and you probably weren't here at the beginning. Hopefully we'll get those sorted out before the next one. The next one will be next, not tomorrow, Monday. Technically, you don't know this, but technically I'm still on a trip. But I flew home for the holiday weekend. I had a 4-day weekend, so I flew home and figured as long as I was here, I would live stream. So it'll be Sunday or Monday, a week from today. We'll see about that. Thank you for coming out, and thank you, Blunty, for doing this live stream on short notice. See you guys in the next one.
Bye, everybody.
The community.